Many years ago, in the beautiful city of Oka, there lived a very calm, polite, well-mannered man named Azuka. Azuka was a mechanic. He was married to a beautiful woman named Chidema, and they had a very cute, handsome son named Kalu. Azuka had struggled and toiled to have a stable life. Azuka wasn't a greedy person. Azuka was very, very contented with little. No matter what he earned for the day in his mechanic workshop, he made sure to pay his workers, and even though he had little, he took that little home, and his family had to manage whatsoever he brought home. His wife Chidema was a teacher in the community secondary school. Kalu, on the other part, wasn't an intelligent child in any way. Kalu was always coming last in his class. In fact, he was even named Coconut Head because it felt like whatsoever that was taught in school, Kalu never gets it. Kalu wasn't even bothered. Whenever he was asked what he wanted to be, he always told his friends, his teachers, and whosoever cared to know that he wanted to be a mechanic. This made Azuka feel bad as he thought to himself that if he was rich, probably his son would have a bigger dream. Being poor or being from a very low class had made his son feel that being a mechanic was good. Azuka prayed and yearned and waited and believed that Kalu was going to be better academically so that Kalu could have a better dream. But Kalu wasn't bothered, he wasn't concerned. Kalu enjoyed fixing things as he had always watched his father fix things while growing up. Azuka had two brothers, Chijioke and Ekpere. Chijioke is a renowned doctor in the city of Oka, whereas Ekpere was a policeman. Azuka, being the eldest son, was not able to go to school, as Azuka had to drop out at a very young age, as his dad had convinced him that it was necessary that he dropped out to take care of his siblings, telling him that the first child is the one that helps to take care of the other ones. So Azuka had to drop off from school at a very early age to help provide for his family. Azuka's dream was to be an engineer, but because he couldn't further his education, as he was trying to generate money to send his siblings to school, Azuka had to become a mechanic. He learned how to fix car, gradually got his own shop, started fixing other people's car, and gradually got his own workers. This was the life of Azuka. The biggest fear and prayer for Azuka was that his son Kalu thinks big, becomes someone in life, and not to become a mechanic like him. Knowing fully well that people were always going to look at him in a very funny way, people were always going to mock him, people were always going to say something. So Azuka made up his mind that he was going to think of a better way to make his son Kalu want to read his book. He was going to think of a better way to make Kalu show interest in school, because he noticed that not because Kalu wasn't intelligent, Kalu was that child that when he sees something once, he picks it immediately. So not that Kalu wasn't intelligent, just that Kalu did not bother paying attention in school. Azuka made up his mind that he wasn't going to give up on his son in any way. Kalu was the only child he had given birth to, and he wanted Kalu to have a bright future, a life better than he was living. That was something he had dreamed for his son Kalu. So with this, one evening, Azuka had called his son Kalu and asked him, "Kalu, my son, I know you said you want to be a mechanic, but what kind of mechanic do you want to be?" Kalu quickly said, "Dad, I don't want to be your kind of mechanic, the ones that fix car. I want to be the mechanic that will make the car itself." Azuka looked at his son and said, "Wow, that's nice. I'm proud of you. So you want to be able to make your own car?" And Kalu quickly said, "Yes, I want to be able to make car by myself." Azuka told him, "Then you're not going to be a mechanic. Those people are not called mechanic, but you have to find out what those people are called by yourself. The people that fix the car are called the mechanic. There's another name for those people. They all study mechanical engineering, but depending on the sector you want to work, when it comes to the composition of car, you will have a name for that. Kalu looked so amazed with what his dad had told him. And he quickly asked his father, so how am I going to learn to be able to make my own car? And his dad told him, then you have to pass your exams. If you pass your exams, then you'll be able to make your car. Kalu quickly told him, but they're not teaching us anything about car in school. All they teach us is maths, English. How is it going to help me make a car? And Azuka told his son, in order to be able to make your car, you have to know addition. Because addition now is what is going to help you know the total amount of tire you need in that car. You have to know addition because it's going to help you to know the points from one place to another. And that's the way you'll be able to make your car without making mistakes. In fact, from this day henceforth, if you can pass your exam, this coming section, not coming last, I'm going to get you a tool and I'm going to crest your name on it. That will be my first gift for you. And the next term, if you pass your exam, I'm going to get you another tool that can help you make your own car. So to each exam you pass, to a new tool I'm going to get for you. I'm going to go to the best blacksmith and I'll make sure I crest your name on it. Kalu looked at his father and said, Daddy, do you promise to do that? And Azuka said, yes. If you can make me proud, I'm going to do it for you. And with this, Kalu started showing interest in school. Kalu listened when the teacher was talking. Kalu gradually started wanting to learn. Though it wasn't easy at first for him, as the term that followed immediately, rather than Kalu being the last position, he gradually elevated by 3 and he came out 27th position. Mr. Azuka kept to his words. He got his son a particular screw, a tool that was going to help him in the production of his car. Kalu felt encouraged and he told himself, in order to get my complete tools, that means I need to keep passing my exam. I need to keep getting higher grades. With this, Kalu gradually started improving in class. The ones coconut head started showing interest in learning. Kalu was that child that gradually started picking interest. Teachers who used to mock him were shocked. They were all surprised that Kalu was picking up in school on his own without anyone guiding him. Azuka's brothers never gave Azuka respect, as they always made Azuka know that they did not make him drop out of school to send them to school. Whenever the family were gathering together, since they were of the rich category, they always made Azuka and his family feel less. When their wives cook, they quickly go get the old plates to feed Azuka and his wife. Even though Azuka was the eldest son and should be given respect, they didn't respect him because he wasn't rich. And when the brothers are talking, they give him the permission to say whatever he wants to say. But after that meeting, they end up doing that thing they wanted to do. And they will tell themselves, how can he even make a contribution when he has no money to fund it? People that make contributions are people that can fund their contribution. So he shouldn't speak when people are speaking. Money works in every aspect. He should keep calm and allow us that have the money to pave the way for him. Azuka never asked them for money for one day. Azuka had never taken loan from anybody in his life. He and his family only lived on what he earned. If he was not able to buy meat, they all ate food without meat. Whereas his brothers that were claiming to be rich and all, go around taking loans whenever they can't foot their lifestyle. Azuka always told them to be very careful. Learn to live according to your means. Do not eat and eat out. Papa always say, he who goes borrowing will surely go sorrowing. Be very careful. But they never listened. They sent their kids to the best and expensive school in town. That was the life they wanted to live. The life that spoke class. And they always teased Azuka of how he couldn't send his child to the best school, claiming that if he had sent Kalu to the best school, probably Kalu would have been bright. They always made it look like Azuka was the reason why Kalu wasn't bright, but they never knew that Kalu was gradually picking up in school. The Kalu they always called Coconut Head was gradually picking up in school. Their kids were all doing well in school, but they never ever really cared about their senior brother. All they wanted to do was to flaunt wealth in his face. Kalu was done with his senior secondary school. He had written his WAEC and JAMB and was still trying to apply into a prestigious federal university. With the help of his parents who had saved long ago for his university, Azuka and his wife started saving the money that they were going to use to send Kalu to university from the day they gave birth to him. They started saving little by little so that when it was time to send Kalu to school, it wasn't going to be difficult for them. As the days went by, with the family putting everything together, trying to make Kalu see reasons with managing when he gets to school so that Kalu doesn't eat overboard. He doesn't join the bad people. He doesn't join bad boys. He should remember where he's coming from and everything his dad had taught him. One fateful day, one of Azuka's boys had come into the mechanic workshop and told Azuka about a free governmental program that was ongoing at that time. This program was to help people with talents, and he quickly told Azuka that it was better for Kalu to apply. If Kalu should enroll in the program and pass all the necessary stages, he was going to be granted a scholarship to go and study in the best school in UK. Azuka had first thought about it. Does Kalu have the potential to apply for this? He doesn't want to go put Kalu in a place whereby he was going to feel down. He doesn't want Kalu to feel down about it. But after giving it a thought, he came back that evening and spoke to his wife Chidima about it. Chidima told him that Kalu had picked up, that before Kalu wrote WAEC, Kalu came out one of the first 6 in class, and Kalu excelled in all his WAEC, even though he passed most of his courses with credit. But that was a good sign that he had picked up. So it was better to enroll Kalu. That no one knows. They can't sit down and determine Kalu's future. Since the program was going to finish before it was time for Kalu to go to school, it was better for him to go. If he gets it, then he will have the opportunity to go abroad. After Azuka gave it a deep thought, he told himself, okay, the main thing there is that they already had the money to send Kalu to school. So if Kalu doesn't get it, it won't be a problem. That evening, he called Kalu and he explained everything to Kalu and even tried to encourage Kalu. It wasn't a do or die affair, that this was a program for him to test his abilities. So he shouldn't go there and feel down. He shouldn't go there and feel intimidated in any way. That he should act accordingly and try his best in everything he could do. To which Kalu said, yes, sir. So Azuka enrolled his son in the program, to which Kalu went and excelled exceedingly great. Not just that Kalu came out one of the best 3, Kalu got the scholarship and he left Nigeria and went to study in UK. Mr. Azuka was very excited. But one thing Mr. Azuka never did was to share the good news with anybody. The celebration ended in his home between Kalu, his wife Chidima, and himself. He had told himself that he didn't want to announce anything so that he didn't want a situation whereby if Kalu doesn't really make it down in UK, people were going to come back and mock him. So it was better to keep the celebration till when Kalu finishes his program and returns back being a full-grown man. Most times, when he and his brothers tend to meet, they always asked about Kalu, and he would tell them that Kalu had gone to the university. And they will quickly ask, hope he has changed his mind on what he wants to be. Hope he is not still calling himself a mechanic. Hope you've spoken to your son that there are other professions he could pick from. Why being a mechanic like his father? Azuka knew that his brothers were trying to make mockery of him, but he never said anything. He always told himself that someday his son was going to return back Being that person he wasn't able to be, he always encouraged himself that Kalu was doing fine wherever Kalu was, as he always tried to keep in touch with Kalu. Even most villagers who used to tease him coconut head gradually asked him, "How come your son never returns? We see other children returning during the vacation, even during the Christmas break, but for one day we've never seen Kalu. Are you sure Kalu is not ashamed to return back to you? Are you sure he has not gone to the university and failed all his courses?" Azuka will always look at them and tell them, "Keep your mouth in your home. Focus on what is happening in your home and leave what is happening in my home. If my son refused to return, that's my problem. Why come to ask me about it? If he had refused to return, I'm left to bother about it. Whenever he decides to return, I'm going to still stretch my hands wide open to accept him because he's my flesh and blood. So why are you here trying to discourage him? The day he decides to return, we all will see for ourselves. So please, can you let me be?" Though gradually, these words started getting to Azuka, as he knew that most people return when they travel. So what was keeping Kalu from returning? But he didn't want to let it bother him that much, as whenever he calls Kalu, he never spoke about returning, as he didn't know the reason why Kalu had not yet returned. But gradually, Kalu started sending money home, telling his parents to leave the current house they were and build a house for themselves. Azuka asked his son, "Where did you get this money from? How come you send us huge sum of money?" But Kalu will always tell them, "Papa, don't worry. Don't worry. This money is the money I am being paid for the little job I do every day." And he will quickly ask his son, "Hope you're reading your books. How is your study? Hope you've not dropped out in any way." Kalu would tell his dad, "Papa, don't worry. Just make sure you build a house. Build a house where you can live." Azuka told his son, "No problem. Thank you very much. Thank you for putting us first." But instead of Azuka building a house where he could live, Azuka quickly built 2 normal houses. The first house was the house he put for rent, and the second house was a house that he was going to gift to Kalu the day Kalu returns, in case Kalu does not come back with much money, so that the villagers will not mock him, so that the people in the community weren't going to laugh at him. While he was building the house, even when people questioned him, he did not say anything. He did not make mention of anything. He made sure no words came out from his mouth. He was very, very careful with what he said. He was hopeful that the day Kalu was going to return, he was going to gift the house to his son. And as the years went by, with activities going on, his brother's kids had graduated from school and they were all doing well for themselves, whereas his own son had not yet returned. Azuka was hopeful for each day, but Kalu kept on sending them huge sum of money, trying to reach out to the family. Things were gradually going well for him. He had also improved his mechanic shop and saved a lot of money because he didn't know how his son was going to return. So he didn't want to finish the money, and when his son returns, there will be nothing to give to him. Kalu one day returned back to Awka, Nigeria. When Kalu returned, it was like the president was visiting Awka. Kalu returned with flocks of cars. Not just that, he returned with escorts. The moment he got to his father's compound, everybody wanted to know who had come to visit Azuka. It was like, who is this person? And lo and behold, Kalu came out from a beautiful, luxurious black car and greeted his father, who had come out to know who this great visitor was. "Papa, good afternoon, sir." Azuka screamed out of excitement. He was so shocked. "Kalu, my son." And he hugged his son tight. Kalu also hugged his mom. They were so glad to see their son. And they quickly asked him, "Who are all these people following you?" And Kalu said, "I got a car for you and I got a car for mom. The other people are going to return back in the evening. Azuka was shocked. You got a car for me and you got a car for your mom. Thank you very much. And they quickly entered into the house as Azuka was a very reserved person. He didn't want the news to start spreading quick. He carried his son inside and asked his son about everything. Kalu shared the good news of graduating as the best student of his set, and a company in Germany picked him and he started working for them. And he told his father that the pay was very, very good, and that was why he kept on sending something home. His father was glad. His father was really, really glad. With the way Kalu had returned, Azuka's brothers had come to visit them the next day because they wanted to be sure what they heard was true. And to their greatest surprise, what they heard was true. The once coconut head they looked down on was not just a rich man. He was a very, very wealthy man working for a multinational company that produces car, that makes car. They were so surprised. They couldn't believe Kalu. This Kalu that said he was going to be a mechanic. And they turned and looked at Azuka and said, "Bro, I thought you say your son was in university here in Nigeria." That was when Azuka told his brothers how someone had introduced him to a program to which Kalu passed and went abroad. They were shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes. Kalu was the richest person amongst their children. Kalu wasn't just rich, he was very wealthy. And with the wealth Kalu had accumulated, he built schools in his community and also helped the widows, the farmers. He tried to touch life before he returned back to his place of work. And he also thanked his father for building a house for him and pleaded that his father moved into the house as he was always going to return to pay him a visit. But he wasn't sure yet if he was going to be based in Nigeria. With this, Azuka became the most respected man in the city of Awka because his son had lived a legacy. No rich family had been able to contribute to the society the way Kalu had done. Not just that, Azuka kept on touching lives in every little way he could whenever Kalu sends money home. And with that, his brothers learned that in life, never look down on anyone. They all thought that Kalu was going to turn out to be a mechanic, but they never knew that the words of encouragement his father had sowed into his life germinated to become something great. Thank you very much for listening to the story of the day. This story is just to encourage people out there. At times, a kid might seem dull, but that doesn't mean that that kid might never pick up. The kid might pick up on a long run. Just depend on the way he or she is being approached. Sometimes words of encouragement can help a child overcome whatsoever is wrong with the child. Thank you very much for listening to the story of the day. We still remain your favorite storyteller, Zika. Please do not forget to support us by subscribing to our channel, sharing our stories to your loved ones. Till we meet again in our next. Bye for now.